Hi, folks. I'm Kevin Daly, opinion editor, joined on our advice roundtable by hood rat Kristen Warner, Aiden Ryan, who apparently is joining us from the Mormon Church, Earth Mother and Voodoo Mama Juju, Katie Cosgrove, and Jordan LaBarber, a renowned Outcast aficionado. We've got a number of questions from Canisius students on various life questions, so I don't know, let's kick it off.
I think number one was whether or not one should fill out teacher evaluations. This is coming from a freshman, by the way.
Is it useful to fill out? Is it going to help them in future years at all?
Ultimately, you could ask that question about any human endeavor, and the answer would be no.
Well, let's not get too metaphysical here and focus on the question at hand. I think just to facilitate the conversation, I would say it sort of depends on the professor. So professors I have found who are on a tenure track, who are in an associate professorship position but don't yet have tenure, rely very heavily upon those student evaluations because they often cite them in their tenure evaluations.
I think sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I think that instead of relying on the professor, I think it more relies on the chair of the department, because the chair of the department gets the evaluations referred back to him, and if a chair notices something that's mentioned by multiple students, the chair is going to go to that professor and say, listen, you need to change this course. Mm-hmm. People aren't happy. So I think that it's more of like how serious the chair is and if the chair really cares to read them or
Which,
not.
though, is difficult to ascertain as a freshman. I mean, if your favorite pastimes include shouting into the void or spitting into the wind, then sure.
We endorse both.
Fill out those evaluations.
Do not spit in front of me. Just kidding.
But from like a personal standpoint, they can be good to vent. Like if you really don't like a professor, after you fail an evaluation and tear them apart, usually you feel better after. If anything's going to happen, you're not sure, but you feel better because you let everyone know how much that professor sucks.
Actually,
I kind of look forward to evaluations.
Sure.
I'm not going to lie.
If I may, it's worth noting that there are a number of professors who are totally ambivalent, if not outright hostile, to student evaluations. Many of them will distribute them because they're required by the college, but usually pay them very little attention, which is a position that you can be in if you have tenure.
And I have to say, just to double back here, in complete disagreement with Ms. Warner, you could use the application or the evaluations as an opportunity to rant, or you could use them as kind of as a mirror and a sort of thought experiment to get outside yourself and approach evaluations the way a professor would approach a test. If you give them the same kind of care and respect, reading it perhaps twice, trying to be as unbiased as possible, and then you kind of get a window into what they do every time they ask you to hand in a paper.
Modifier, you're still a good person.
Yeah.
There's two kinds of people.
I think we should move on to our next question.
What is our next question?
Well, this comes from a personal friend of mine. He wrote in and he said, actually one of his roommates, who's living with him now and he's going to be living with him next semester as well, decided recently that next year he's going to get an apartment with one of his other friends. Ooh. And guess what? Ooh. This friend's not invited. So his question to us was, how do I live with this person?
Yeah, how do you break up with a friend?
Wow. Well, I guess how do you live with the friend who's broken up with you?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
You pull some.
Well, I think
this is nuance. Yeah.
Right.
I think that you just don't take any hard feelings. Like, people can do whatever they want, and as long as you like this friend and they're happy, then good for them. I mean, maybe you're a crappy roommate. Sorry for whoever this is. You're probably not a crappy roommate, but
you should find one of
you
their
might
best
be a
friends
crappy
and room
roommate.
with them.
Yeah.
Shove it in their face. I'm in a room with your best friend.
Yeah, I think perhaps this is an opportunity for self-reflection. You might not necessarily inquire of said person, but might ask of yourself, in what ways have I aggravated this person? I think that there's a tendency in college to live amongst your friends, and I understand why. But it's a dangerous proposition. Spending a lot of time with somebody, both of you will do things that aggravate the other, and so living in proximity with one person, especially a good friend, for a long time, might not always be the smartest move.
I had the best possible roommate situation my freshman year, and it was with a girl that we didn't ever hang out outside of our room. We didn't have the same clique. We didn't have the same friends, and it was perfect. We both were happy. We never spent a lot of time together. We never did anything together, and we could still come home and talk and watch Boy Meets World and have a great old time, and we never got in any fights. So I think that maybe this is like the best situation for your friend, and that maybe he'll find someone who he's just compatible with, who's not his best friend. And
now the question is, do they this next semester, how do they approach that?
And I think on that subject, I'd like to hear from Disney Princess in the Making, Kristen Warner.
Why me?
We haven't really heard your thoughts on the subject so far.
Well-
Wealth of knowledge.
I think
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
never, ever. I think they should wait until next semester and then somehow bring it up, but not directly. You know what I mean? Talk about, well, why didn't you ask me to room
Yeah.
with you? But not. But
Don't do it drunk.
If
Not-
you need
not-
that kind of closure,
Well,
but I don't see why you would. I
But
mean,
by next semester, the other person's going to have their rooming assignment picked, and I feel like the winter break's going to give them time to get over it and be like, okay, well, we're not living together next year. Let's make the best of these next 15 weeks.
there might not be something to get over, though. I mean, you shouldn't take it as a commentary on your relationship, because friendship, as we all know, is not necessarily conducive to a menage, a trois, a deux, or whatever. It's just they're not one of the
Please,
same.
no, please elaborate on what you mean by this.
What I
'cause that
mean-
makes no damn sense.
What I mean is, a friendship is not necessarily going to translate into a living situation. Menage in that sense.